There are a whole lot of us that are not doing HRT and are being told that we've got dire outcomes if we're not on it. That was my question. What about us? What about the women that aren't on it? Where's the support for us?
Jane, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thanks for the invitation.
This is going to be fun.
It will be.
Because you're fun. Well, from what we see, I think what we see is what we get, right?
Unless I'm cranky.
Well, it's still
You've
fun.
probably seen a bit of that.
I still think it's fun. And so for those that don't know you, maybe give us a little bit of a background on Instagram. And are you on TikTok as well?
Oh, look, I venture over to TikTok occasionally. I find it a bit scary.
I just don't want to discriminate, but
No.
you are known as the middle-aged goddess.
I am.
Tell us about the evolution of that.
So I'm the middle-aged goddess on Instagram. The name came about randomly as kind of a joke. I was teaching yoga and there was yogi goddess and bikini goddess. And I'm like, where's the old lady goddess? And I just went, I'm the middle-aged goddess. And I have stuck to it. I did try and change it a few years ago and there was outrage.
Oh, really? The people didn't like it?
The people didn't like it.
Oh, we've got to listen to what the people want, don't we?
Yes, but now what happens is I quite often get irate women going, clearly you're not middle-aged anymore.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I'm like, I have to start changing it to the geriatric goddess or something like that. So
Don't do that. Don't do that.
No.
I mean, I think it's pretty funny, but it's so interesting how polarizing something can be for people.
So many things.
Right.
Especially on the socials. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
One side of it you are helping women to live their best life, and then there's these other women that are triggered by a title and a name.
Yeah.
And we have to deal with that. Well, you have to deal with that.
Yeah.
Often.
Yes.
I know not too long ago you did have you shared a post. I don't know what the first post was, but the one that went viral, how you talked about how your wrinkles and this is me up close and I upset somebody and offended somebody, and can you remind me what exactly that?
Yeah, a woman messaged me saying, I really love your content, but I'm a bit tired of seeing your face up close.
What were you supposed to put on there, your bum instead? Like,
I don't know. And then I did look back at most of my content and you do see my face up close because the best light is in my lounge room and the phone sticks there and that's the best spot to do it. So yes, that is true. So I did do a reel saying, yeah, this is my face up close and this is how an almost 59-year-old face looks. I wish I had worn sunblock. I wish I had discovered it before I turned 50. But this is it up close, and we don't often see ordinary faces of women these days on the socials that aren't filtered or, I don't have any Botox, fillers, whatever you do you. This is not a political statement in any way, but it's just not something that I do. Full confession, I did dabble in the early 2010s. And then I had one incident where like one eyebrow was higher than the other. And as she's doing it, she goes, you know what, you really need some,
it's a
some
slippery
stuff
slope.
in your cheeks too. And it was this sort of light bulb moment for me where I went, if I start doing that, then there's no going back. And then what will it be next?
And I do think it's a slippery slope. I do.
It is. And I've seen, a few friends of mine do that, and then it's boob jobs and tummy tucks and liposuction, and what are we trying to stop here? I'm not trying to stop anything from changing.
And what's interesting with that is for some people, obviously that really resonates. They feel like, me too, I feel seen, I feel heard, this is my person. And then there's the people going, you're triggering me. How dare you trigger me? When it's actually about them, not about you.
Well, taking it as an insult or some people took it as I don't care for myself and I don't care for my appearance. And of course I absolutely do, but I don't care what other people think about me.
And can you share a little bit about the evolution of getting to that place? Because, you said 2010, things were a little bit different. But it is, when you look back, I think that you can see different versions of yourself.
Yeah.
And how did we get here?
Yeah, menopause got me there. Menopause got me to a place where I felt more like myself than ever before. And that's been such a delightful discovery. And I feel more like, I want to say childlike, but I don't think that's, I just feel more like how
Playful?
how I felt when I was younger before, because my hormones ruled me for quite a long time. We've spoken about this before. And I've just found this joy that I felt years ago that got sort of hidden under layers of hormones and life.
I think that's probably music to a lot of women's ears, hearing that, and especially when they're in the thick of the transition. Perimenopause, a lot of women feel very triggered by that alone. I can't tell you the amount of women that will say, oh gosh, I hope that's not what this is. And I'll be like, you're 40, babe. It is that. Like, it's undeniably, it's like trying to deny puberty, saying, and puberty is just a phase, right? Just like menopause a phase. And we're not sitting there going, oh gosh, could it be puberty when you're 16? This is, you've got acne. Could it be puberty? What a ridiculous thing to ask ourselves. But we really deny ourselves of living in the moment and going through the phase and trying to figure out, how do I do this and embrace it rather than resist it? But there's a lot of resistance with aging.
So much. And what you said before, like, when I was 40 and starting to have a nervous breakdown and frozen shoulders and different things, I wish I had known it was perimenopause, because when you know what you're dealing with it, then you can go and find the knowledge and the resources to help you. But that was not my experience at all. And I really struggled through that time. So I understand why women feel like that. I think now, I'm 16 years down the track from perimenopause, and it's a bit like giving birth. Like it's all a bit of a blur now. But what is really amazing is that there is so much more knowledge, and there are so many more women out there talking about it, and there are so many more resources available. When I went to my doctor going, I think I'm going crazy, maybe I'm going through menopause, I didn't even know there was perimenopause.
Right.
I had no clue. Turns out either did she, because she's like, no, you're too young. Here, take these antidepressants. That's what you need.
And it's such a common story too for so many women. I think there's more information now and there's more education, and we're just talking about it now, right?
Yes.
And so that is a great advantage. But you are right. I think I am that first generation to come through where there is these conversations. And maybe I'm part of the conversation. I can't figure that out yet.
I think you are.
Maybe that's part of it, but I don't know. So the real thing is talking about it more, right? It's more conversations. It's more Me Too moments, helping women connect with themselves rather than resist. And maybe that would have looked different for you if you had known to embrace that in your 40s rather than push against it, or even just be accepting, here's some antidepressants, you're apparently going, crazy, which is not saying that people on antidepressants are going crazy, but that was kind of the mentality at that point in time.
Yeah. And I think too, the other really important thing that we don't address in women's health is being prepared for it.
Oh, that's so true.
Part of me sort of almost feels like it's too late if you get to perimenopause and you haven't been looking after yourself and you haven't got the tools and the rituals, the mental health support. Like that's something. I've got 2 boys, but this is something that I've always taught them, like from a young age, you need to look after your bodies now.
Yeah.
Because I ignored what the physio told me about my knees, and I ignored all the advice and did a lot of damage. And I look back now and wonder, I wonder if I had done all of that, if it would have been easier, and if aging would have been is easier for me. Yeah.
You inspired me with something else I saw you talk about, where, and it's not an argument of what's right and wrong, especially when it comes to hormone replacement, but you were talking about not all women can take HRT. Not all women want to either. That's another thing that I say now, is that it's a choice. And you had elaborated on that even if you could have taken it, you didn't for whatever reason. It wasn't appropriate, or it wasn't given to you. It wasn't recommended due to family history, I think, actually.
Yeah.
But weathering that, there's a lot of women that feel very judged by, it's a whole conversation about the HRT community.
Yeah.
What can you remind me what that post was about again? Because it was really like, or you don't remember?
No. Oh, no, I do. Because there were a couple of posts that followed it.
Was there some hate towards it?
There was so much hate, and I've realised online it doesn't matter how many times you say something, people will hear what they want to hear. And what they heard was me judging them for choosing to do HRT.
Right.
What I was saying was, with the plethora of online social media doctors now saying HRT is the way, that's the only message I hear from them, to be honest. What I was saying in that post was HRT was not available to me. So my mother and my sister died from estrogen receptive breast cancer. And the morning of my sister's death, it's her birthday tomorrow.
Oh.
And she had passed away, and her oncologist came in, and he was a family friend, and we were standing there, and he looked at me and he said, you know, if your sister got that same cancer now, I could have saved her life. Right. He said, that's how far the treatment has come. And then he looked at me and he said, under no circumstance, he said, I don't know where you are in your cycle, but under no circumstance are you to accept any HRT treatment. Like he said, we just don't know. There's all different studies out there.
Yeah, there is. And some would argue opposite. And
yeah. And he said, I just don't want you to risk it.
Yeah.
So in my head, I've gone, it's a no-go for me. And at that time, any doctor I spoke to about it was like, yeah, no, we're not going there. And my whole point in that reel, I'm getting back to it, was that at no point was I offered any alternative. Like maybe you need to go and do this, or maybe you need to see a Chinese doctor, or there was nothing. It was just like, off you go, take the antidepressants, and yeah.
And I think that story is really common, and it's sadly common. It was very interesting. I see all of this information, and there is a very strong push for HRT for women with very little regard for their lifestyle, their hormone status, their environment, their nutrition, their sleep. Like we don't look at any of that. It's a prescription that's often given. And for some women, they say it's life-changing, which I no doubt, I'm sure it is. Yeah. But for me, I really struggle when we're not looking at these other factors. So to me, it's not this and that or this or that. It's what do we need to do to get your body to be where it needs to be, and maybe using hormones or whatever as icing on the cake. But there is a very strong push for it, and I feel really sad for women who either they know that it doesn't feel like it's the right thing for them, maybe they can't take it, like I said, they don't want to take it, or they want to come off it. That's the other thing. At what point do they stop? There's a push for health and longevity now. We're told bone health, we're told brain health, we're told muscular health. There's so many reasons why. But the other week I was like, okay, this is what I do. I help women that don't want to be on HRT, right? That's my specialty. I'm not a medical doctor. My training is very different to that, but I've studied medicine in a different capacity. And so I did what any smart person would do. I went on to ChatGPT and I typed in, if I was a fully trained herbalist with 20 years experience and I wanted to help women who didn't want to use HRT or couldn't use HRT, how could I help them understand what I do? And it spat out this whole excellent explanation. Great. And I was like, brilliant. But then I was like, okay, with that same information, is exercise, what is more protective, HRT or exercise? And it came back and said, without question, the most protective thing you can do is exercise for bone health and brain health and muscular health. And I was like, the answers are right in front of us, but we're still trying to shortcut things. And this is where I get really worried. Women will just do that and that alone, and not the exercise and not the nutrition, not the sleep. And it's heartbreaking, to be honest.
Because they want the quick fix, because it is really tricky, and they want to feel better. I totally get it. And so I think that's why I was saying before, like start before you're there.
Right.
Get ready for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, do your research.
Yeah, don't use. Well, you can use ChatGPT if you want. But
ChatGPT.
I was trying to use ChatGPT for my advantage because I know what I want to say.
Yeah.
And I want to actually look and go, well, hang on, what does the collective evidence say?
Yes.
I think it's fantastic. I kind of go, how are we still able to use it if it's like gives you information that is very non-biased?
Yeah.
Which is kind of what we're all been searching for.
The real idea about that was that, there are a whole lot of us that are not doing HRT and are being told that we've got dire outcomes if we're not on it. And so that was my question, like, what about us? What about the women that aren't on it? Where's the support for us?
Yeah.
And that...
Well, I think the thing is there is plenty. We've just got to put ourselves out there and start to talk about it
and look outside the box, So, okay.
It can be very confronting though. Thinking outside the box, it can feel very lonely.
Yes.
And very like judgmental, and every now and again you think, what am I doing? Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
I know that's true for a lot of patients.
Yeah.
Because we're very used to being told, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
And if you do this, you will be this way.
Yeah.
Which works for about 12% of people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But you did have a background in yoga and you were obviously healthy, and so some would argue, like you kind of did scaffold yourself somewhat, but I guess the changes came and the information wasn't available is what you're saying.
Yeah. And it's like that when you're in labour and you get to that transition point and you go, I can't do this. And I remember with my second son going to the midwife, I think maybe it's time for some drugs and I don't think I can do this. And she measured me and she's like, you're fully dilated, you're ready to go. And my brain just went, I can do this, great. And so I think having the knowledge of knowing where you're at in your hormonal cycle and going, okay, this is perimenopause, it just takes it from being the unknown to, okay, this is what I'm dealing with. And knowledge is power and information is useful. So
I really agree with that. I think anyone that's listening that is in their sort of mid-30s and 40s, the best thing I say is go and just do a hormone panel test, not for any other reason, just to have the information.
Yeah.
You might not have symptoms. You could be completely fine. But you can't go back and get that information. Like I can't go back and get a blood panel from when I was 30 because I didn't do one.
Yeah.
And I'm petrified of needles as an acupuncturist. But I don't love needles. And so especially as a 30-year-old, I was like, why would I I like my blood in my body, not out of it.
Yeah.
As I've gotten older, I do regret that. I think having that information to look at the changes that happen over time is really useful. But a lot of us aren't doing that because the only time you'd really generally do a blood test is when you think something's wrong.
Yeah.
Not when something's right.
Yeah.
So that's what I would be saying, like start to test every 5 years so that you can look at the changes and then you get that feedback that you're talking about. You're like, I can do this. I can see what's changed. I can see what I need to like scaffold or get someone to help you see that. But wisdom is great and hindsight is also fabulous.
And talk to the older women in your life. I never talked to my mum about it. And I know she had a hysterectomy. I don't really know why.
Right.
And then my sister went through early menopause because of chemo, and then by the time I was on my way through it, she was, not long with us. So it was not appropriate for me to talk about it. And I think that's really important. Ask the older women in your life how it was for them because everyone's got a different experience.
Absolutely agree with that. I think asking especially your mother is really helpful. My mum says the same thing. She lost her mum when she was really young.
Yeah.
But when I say really young, in her 30s, I think. So enough time for her mum to have actually potentially gone through menopause, but just not having that information, not being able to ask it. It's generational wisdom.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That we've really kind of cut ourselves off from, because I really think that once upon a time, the men were out doing what the men do, whatever that is, and the women were in the house, taking care of each other, cooking, preparing.
Yeah.
There would have been conversations. There would have been like, you know, Auntie Mary over there's kind of lost it. Oh, yeah, that's okay. She's just having a hot flush. Like there would have been conversations, right?
Yeah.
Which we hide now.
Yes.
There isn't that conversation.
Yeah.
I'm going to change directions here because whilst we talked about some of the haters, let's talk about the lovers.
Oh.
And the community, and how important has that been to have that community for you? I know you're the content creator and they're the audience, but as a content creator, how important is the community?
It's been amazing. I mean, you know, my Instagram career really kicked off when I got on there going, I'm feeling like this. Is anybody else feeling this way? And tell me the good news, because I knew all the bad news about menopause. I wanted to hear the good news. And women from all over the world just started hopping on and sending me DMs. And it's grown into this phenomenal community. And, you know, you can see that in the comments. And, you know, someone will share something deeply personal and everybody jumps in and helps support them. It's really beautiful. And women send me DMs telling me really intense, personal, private things that they don't feel comfortable sharing with people in their own lives. A stranger feels safe. I know it's weird.
But they connect with you on some level. You've said something somewhere that they've had a Me Too moment and they're like, this is my person. I resonate with her.
Yeah. And, you know, and then I went through my marriage separation. I still need to get divorced. I hate to do that.
It's just a formality.
I've been in a new relationship for almost 7 years now.
It's not new anymore.
No. Feels new.
Oh, that's amazing. And so it should.
Yeah. But yeah, got to do the divorce thing. You know, and same thing. I felt very alone because all my friends were partnered up. So, you know, I started talking about that. And then what has evolved from that now is a really lovely opportunity. I've discovered that I love to travel. It was never really, you know, I did the backpacking thing when I was 20 and went, yeah, tick, done that. Not fussed about doing it again. And I discovered after going to India last year, I love it. I will go anywhere.
Right.
And so now I'm taking groups of women on adventures. I did one last year in Greece, which was just heaven.
You're not going to get any better than Greece.
Well, we've spoken about Greek yogurt and I've tried every single one in Australia. I cannot find one.
It's not the same. Don't even try. Don't even try.
It.
There is a couple out there that people try and say, Nat, try this, try that.
No.
Yeah, we might need to get a Greek yogurt sponsor or something
I think so.
for the podcast.
Good idea. And then I'm running a trip to Bali in May. There's still a few spots left for that. And then I'm taking 20 women to Morocco in October. That sold out in a day and a half.
That's amazing. This was actually my next question because obviously you love your community so much that you're willing to travel with them, which I think is brilliant. But it's also actually Dr. John Demartini talks about this and he's been on the podcast before, but he talks about how, you know, doing the things that you love and how important it is and in terms of you aligning to your values, but travel being a high value. And he talks about how he figured this out for himself. So he was like, right, how can I travel and bring my people with me? And so this is what he does. He just gets groups of people together, exactly what you're doing, puts it out there, offers it, and then they go to the place that he wants to go to next.
Yeah.
So this is literally what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
How amazing.
Yeah. And I knew I didn't want to travel on my own.
Right.
And I want to be comfortable, but I also want to expand my comfort zone as well. And what I discovered on the Greece trip, it was the first one I'd done with a group of women and I was pretty nervous. And I was thinking, do I need to be on the whole time? Well, after 24 hours, they had all fallen in love with each other. It was like I was the instigator and
you just crept off backwards.
I just sat.
You're like,
basically,
how good.
and it was so joyous. You know, you'd get on the bus in the morning, someone would be crying,
Yes.
someone would be laughing, someone would be singing, someone would be sharing snacks. Like, it was so beautiful. We're all still in a group chat. We're all still connected to each other. And so I thought, okay, I need to do more of this, because what a beautiful way for women from all over the world to connect with each other. I've got women coming from the UK, the US, Canada to Bali. And what was funny, they've all gone, oh my God, it's going to take me like a day and a half to get there.
We're like, oh, it's around the corner.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's how it is. Yeah.
It's very exotic to the Americans, and to us
Yes.
it's our backyard.
It's like another state.
Yeah,
Really.
it really is.
So that's been just such a joyous gift to be able to offer that to women. And so now I'm thinking, where next? I do know where next.
It's very exciting.
Yeah.
It's so exciting. It was kind of similar. We started running retreats, but just in Australia. And the first one, I was like you. I was like, how is this going to be?
Yeah.
Like putting 20 women together that I don't know, that they know you, they know me, or they are associated somehow, unless their friend dragged them along. Maybe that's something as well. But similar to you, I remember at the end of it, my mum called me and she's like, how did it go? And I was like, I don't know how we make that better. That was the best. Like, what a great feeling. There's not many things I've ever done actually that I've turned around and go, how do we make that better? Like everything I always critique and go, oh, that was a bit, you know, could do better there, could do better there. I literally at the end was like, I don't know how we make that better. We just got to now try and do the same thing again. The pressure's on to do the same thing again.
Yeah.
But it's very, very, it's something obviously is unlocked in people when you create that space for them as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what's been lovely is some of the women that came on the Greek trip are coming with me to Morocco, and then other women whose partners had said they didn't want to travel, they've come home and gone, oh my God, I did this and I went here. And that's inspired them to travel together, which is really lovely.
Oh, beautiful.
So, you know, it travel unlocks all sorts of things.
Yeah, that's so exciting. That's so exciting. Let's talk about self-care practices, because I feel like listening to other people's routines are inspiring. I know you do a lot of swimming in the ocean.
I do, yes.
Which I'm assuming is more about self-care than anything else, because I know you also say some days I just can't be bothered doing it, and you never regret it when you do.
You never regret it. You never regret a swim. You never regret a workout.
Right.
You never regret doing anything that makes you feel good. Yet we just get in our own way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So what is some of the practices that you do besides swimming?
Yeah,
in the
so
ocean?
I'm a Vedic meditator. So we practice that twice a day for 20 minutes. Do I do it twice a day every day? No. Most days I get at least one in. Sometimes I miss it. But as my teacher says to me, as long as the intention is there, that's a practice. That's been phenomenal. My partner learned as well. So that's something really beautiful that we do together. And I have to say I'm a shit meditator. On a scale of A to D,
I think that'd be a music to a lot of people's
I'd
ears.
be a D. And the stuff that
Why do you say that?
I say that because I want people to feel that meditation is accessible to them.
Right.
And
but why do you think you don't do a good job of it?
Because there are lots of thoughts.
Because the brain's busy.
The brain is busy. But as my teacher says to me, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like the thoughts are okay. And some days I'll have 3 seconds of space. Some days I might be a bit longer. Some days there's nothing. But I never open my eyes at the end of it and go, oh God, I wish I hadn't have done that, you know. Even if it's just taking 20 minutes to sit still and in silence, that's a reset. And what I love about it is that I never feel like, oh, I am going to be really good at this. Like there's always something more that I can do, like yoga. Like you master one pose. So it's like, you know, I can do a handstand. Oh, okay, well, I can do a handstand doing the splits. Like you can always take it further. Not that I can do that anymore. So that's pretty much a non-negotiable for me.
And are you still practicing yoga?
I do a little bit. I sometimes go to a class. I sometimes do a little bit on my own. It is one of those things I have sort of wandered away from, and I'm a bit more focused on strength training at the moment. But at least once or twice a week, I will get on my mat and do something. You know, it's not the 2-hour routine that I used to do.
We do what we need at the time though, right?
We do.
Like when you had 2 hours, or when you made 2 hours of your day, time for that.
Yeah.
That's what you needed at the time. You don't necessarily need to do that anymore. Something different.
I had to laugh the other day. My son, my oldest son's living in Japan, and he's just done his yoga teacher training there. And I spoke to him one night. I said, "Are you okay, darling?" He's like, "I'm so tired." I said, "Why?" And he goes, "Oh, because we get up at 4, we do Kriya, we meditate, then we do asana, and then we read the Bhagavad Gita, and then I have to go to work." I'm like, "So what time do you wrap all this up?" He goes, "Oh, it takes 2.5 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. Bless him.
He's probably got 2.5 hours and he just needs to go to bed a little bit earlier.
Yeah. But it just reminded me of I have definitely walked that path as well, and now I've narrowed it down. So, meditation, a hot shower at the end of the day, a cold swim in the morning. One of my best practices, and it's the easiest one, is when I open my eyes in the morning, I lift the corners of my mouth and I say thank you. So instead of waking up and going, "Oh my God, my knee's sore, look at the weather, oh, I've got so much to do," I just smile and say thank you. And honestly, if you don't have time to meditate and you don't have time to jump in the ocean, if that's the only thing you do, I promise you your day will just be so much better for it.
That is so powerful.
It's amazing.
That is so powerful.
I made it up myself.
It's amazing. I love the things that we make up ourselves.
Yes.
I make patients do that in the middle of the night when they wake up.
Oh, great.
Thank you for waking me up.
Great.
It's like, because we do that. Why am I awake? This
Yeah.
sucks. Tomorrow's going to be terrible. Like we go there.
Yeah.
So it's like, thank you. Okay, what? Thank you for waking me up. It's very different. Very different. I love all of this. Okay, so just to wrap things up, what advice would you give to women who are hesitant to embrace their aging and showcase their authentic selves?
You know, nothing changes if nothing changes. And everything changed for me watching my sister pass away. She was 57.
Yeah, that sucks.
No, I'll be 59 in a few months. And it was one of those light bulb moments for me. Like,
that was a big why.
Yeah.
For you.
It made me look at my relationships, at my marriage, at my career, everything. And I realized that I had the opportunity to change, and I've just fully embraced it because, you know, what's the alternative? Yeah.
Also at that point, you've got the rest of your life to live.
Absolutely.
And so it can be the best part, I think, is what you're inspiring people to actually, you've done the hard part.
Yeah.
You've gone through all of that, and now you're in your second part where you literally care less about, you know, the little things.
Yeah.
Can focus on what really matters.
Yeah.
And really embrace that part of you rather than resist it.
Yeah. And it's been such a beautiful discovery, you know, and I never expected the last half of my life to be as amazing as it has been. And, you know, I've had lots of big, amazing things happen to me, but the small things that I add into my joy bank every day are what really keep me centered and happy and joyous.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for being vulnerable and just opening up your heart, because it's not always easy. I know you're public with a lot of things anyway, but I appreciate you doing that, and I know this is actually going to help so many women. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Nat. Thanks for all you do as well. You know, I know, you know, Chinese medicine it's not alternative. It's ancient medicine, and it is so useful. And you've really helped me, and I know, you know, everything that you share in all areas is really helpful for everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much.